Dear leaders of the World Jewish Congress, leaders of Jewish communities and organizations, distinguished guests, dear friends, as President of the European Jewish Congress, I would like to address the Plenary Assembly on our achievements, our vision, and our strategy for the last years. I have only 5 minutes, but before addressing the long-term issues, I would like once more to begin by expressing unconditional support to Israel and to our full solidarity with the victims and the families as thousands of rockets threaten our Jewish state. For us, Jewish leaders, protecting our communities and supporting the state of Israel will always be our 2 main priorities. The idea is at the core of our strategy at the European Jewish Congress, which since the last plenary assembly has delivered extraordinary results. You certainly followed the World Holocaust Forum in Jerusalem, and many of you shared this very special moment with us. As media reports, it was the largest political and diplomatic event in the history of the State of Israel. In a way, it was a recognition by world leaders that Jerusalem is really the capital of the State of Israel. About 50 world leaders joined us for this groundbreaking event to mark the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz and to honor the memory of the victims of the Shoah. For more than 15 years, we have held World Holocaust Forums, and I can assure you that we will continue organizing them. Our main message is that anti-Semitism is not about Jews. It is about that silent majority who was and still is too tolerant of the other's intolerance. Every year, the Kantor Center at Tel Aviv University issues annual report on anti-Semitism. This report has become a reference to governments, civil society, and the media to better understand the issue. Since we last met, anti-Semitism worldwide has aggravated, first because of the pandemic, and now also because of the conflict. There are dangerous times, and we expect from world leaders, including, of course, also Jewish leaders, to be very careful interacting with our opponents, including Palestinian leaders, as any wrong move can incite or encourage a new aggression. At the same time, the world is facing unprecedented challenges due to the pandemic, and we have to adapt our strategies to this new reality, and I will say normality. Our world is currently like a bus with 2 wheels hanging off an abyss. All 8 billion of us, including the major players, are inside the cabin, and it depends on our collaboration and our solidarity, whether we fall into the abyss or stand on all 4 wheels and move to our mutual future. But the mega players are literally torn apart by contradictions over nuclear, economic, climate, space, cyber, sanitary, pandemic-related, and other matters. As the latest report by the Kantor Center confirms, the current pandemic has accelerated an already critical situation. Lockdowns are being compared to ghettos and concentration camps. Life-saving vaccines are being described as wicked medical experiments, and the people who refuse them are claiming to be persecuted and are wearing yellow stars. Anti-Semitism is still at the center of conspiracy theories, and the constant focus of the role of Jews behind global events shows that anti-Semites are more hateful and inspired than ever. Protecting our communities has become even more vital and necessary. Across all European countries, our Security and Crisis Center makes sure that every Jewish building is secured and that relations between communities and law enforcement are as close and sufficient as possible. Hundreds of seminars, trainings, and briefings are constantly organized to ensure that our communities are protected. And speaking about major achievement, I am very pleased to announce that a project by our Security and Crisis Center has been selected for cooperation and funding by the European Commission. It's a very important message. This project, led by European Jewish Congress and in partnership with organizations from the Muslim, Christian, and Buddhist communities, will dramatically increase the security of places of worship. We can expect very positive effects from this initiative, not only for religious communities, but for the whole society. Another fundamental challenge is reconnecting diaspora youth with the State of Israel. According to the latest report of the so-called Pew Center, only a minority of American Jews under 30 feel very or somewhat attached to the State of Israel. We need to have a strategy to combat this. As you all surely understand, lack of Jewish unity on Israel can have very grave consequences. And from the Jewish street to the non-Jewish street, we need to adapt our strategies and future concerns to the challenges that young people all over the world face today. More than 20 years ago, research showed that young people didn't know enough about the Holocaust, and some even believed that it had never happened. That was one lost generation of young people, and we are already in danger of losing a second one. The longer we are away from the living memory of Holocaust, the easier it is to deceive young people through anti-Semitic and extremist activity. We have seen a very dangerous trend many times in history. Unemployment, especially youth unemployment, is a serious threat to political stability. I would say even to strategic stability. The pandemic revealed and significantly aggravated a new kind of inequality between generations. Young people believe that their interests and futures are being sacrificed to protect the older generations. The International Labour Organization estimates that worldwide, 1 in 5 young people is not in education, employment, or training. We have to remember that Kristallnacht was performed mainly by teenagers. The same age group is responsible today for many extremist manifestations and incidents. In this crisis of liberal democracy, it is critically important to provide them with opportunities, careers, and perspectives. This is a long-term task, and for this to succeed, our work needs to be future-oriented. In conclusion, when I speak of long-term strategies, the image of the Great Wall of China comes to my mind. The construction of this wall started when the Chinese were not even yet united as a single people. It took over 3,000 years to build it. The main goal was to not only build a large number of outposts and defend themselves from nomads seeking to undermine Chinese territorial integrity. Its main goal was to unite different peoples into one nation with a common language and a common purpose. This principle also applies to us, Jews. For this goal, I am always ready to sacrifice my own ambitions and ego. And I do think all European Jewish leaders are thinking in the same manner. Through unity, values, long-term strategy, and leadership, we will be able to protect our communities, the societies we live in, and the future generations. Thank you.